Get this on the Triple M network.
Now, I'm just going to show you. You have not seen this photo of Courtney Love
No.
in the NW.
Okay.
I'm going to show it to you live on air. Check that out! Stop fiddling about with your face, Courtney.
Someone's put a wig on a lizard. What's going on? Oh, she's Louise. Okay, if the Olsen twins were 308 years old and then got their face rearranged with Play-Doh, this is close to what she'd look like. It's like Tara Reid's looking pretty normal.
She replaced herself with the Madame Tussauds version of herself.
She's like an
That's what it looks like.
She's animatronics.
Even Pete Burns from Dead or Alive is going, yep, I'm looking quite normal. What about the big news, though? Marcel Marceau has passed away at the age of, something really old. A million, yes. At the age of 84 he was. I'm sure there's a lot of obvious jokes that we could get out of our system. You want to kick things off, Mr. Marsland?
Well, would there be a few moments of silence or just a few moments of insane noises? Don't know.
I see here Marceau visited Australia several times and was well remembered by pop guru Molly Meldrum. If you can remember anything, it's well remembered, really. That wasn't the joke.
Oh.
But you might remember Marceau. He was one of the many acts who opted to mime on Countdown. There you go.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, I went to see Marcel Marceau last time he was here.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in front of some very old ladies, some very naughty old ladies. They brought lollies in and they were unwrapping them and they were having a wonderful time. And Marcel was doing his sad clown act, where it was a series of Bip of really unfortunate events that would happen to Bip. He lost his job. He lost his girlfriend. I think he fell down a well. And then finally he puts up a sign that says, Bip ends it all. And really loudly, the old woman in front of me yells, "That should cheer him up."
Really loudly, too. That would have rubbed it in.
It's beautiful.
Didn't have a sign ready for a response.
No.
Very tricky dealing with hecklers. Marcel Marceau.
When's the funeral, Tone?
Later in the week, I think, Rich.
So he'll be trapped in a box forever.
Oh, okay.
What?
Richard had his joke face on.
Nicky?
The joke face is when he's looking at someone else when he pushes the button.
I know. He looks you right in the eyes with the gags.
I know. But
His jokes bore into my soul.
does it say what he died of? I walked through an imaginary plate glass window. Okay, stop. Just stop.
I'm having an imaginary shower from all these jokes, trying to wash away the dirt.
The Luxury of Hysteria is a fine new album in your shops now. Here's the man whose name's on the front. It's Tim Rogers. Tim, thanks for coming in.
I love being here. It's like my little home away from home.
Well, you've confessed sports. Now, we're hopeless on sports, but Ed tells me that you're some sort of footy legend.
I saw you absolutely tear them apart in the Community Cup. In
3 goals, 1 booze can.
Here we go, in Melbourne. But you say you kicked 3 goals, 1.
That's right.
But I do remember you kicking your first goal, and then didn't you go off injured?
Well, I pulled my quadricep muscle while playing in a practice session with Paul Kelly and a mob that he's got, who've had this really intense training sessions, and I pulled a quaddie. So after the first goal, I tore it again and had to go off. And
you tore it and still came back out?
Yeah.
Now you were
I'm hardcore.
You are hardcore. And I saw you kick a goal just as a dog came on and take a crap on the field in the background.
Who needs commentators when you can have that happen to you?
But you guys won, didn't you?
Yeah. We hadn't won in a couple of years. I played for the SB Rock Dogs, my second favourite team in the land. And no, it's a wonderful day. As we were talking, I think it's the preeminent day on the social calendar of Melbourne.
And what is the favourite team, dare I ask?
The North Melbourne Kangaroos.
Okay, now how does that work?
They had a wonderful year. Unfortunately, not a great game on the weekend against Port Power in top flight.
I was there as well.
So you went to...
I was wearing an oversized newspaper hat, a suit and a lace-up Guernsey. It was like any wonder I was a target for derision during the day.
Well, it seems that you've not jumped on the watermelon helmet.
Oh, that is my
bandwagon.
favourite. Amazing.
As a young man with a rather large nose, the watermelon helmet, but the kind of the Norman Viking one.
Yeah, absolutely right. With just the thin the bar down the front.
Yeah.
Presumably because all of your enemies are going to try and hit you just square in the eyes and nowhere else.
And thanks to all our listeners who continue to send in photographs of cats wearing watermelon helmets.
It's much appreciated. It
There's
really
a lot
is.
of it out there. Hey, but Adelaide, now you were just saying before, off air, that were you thrown out of a school that possibly Mr. Marsland attended in Adelaide, or
We're near each other, but I was
Yeah.
I was threatened to be thrown. But my parents then had a mysterious barbecue plan where they invited most of the staff of the school, including the headmistress, and it's not officially on my record.
really like an intervention
A little bit like that.
at
yeah.
your house?
Yeah. yeah.
Ouch. Severe. What
my-
kind of punishments did your parents dish out? We were talking about this in the last hour.
My dad is a silent fumer.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
something I've
yeah,
really
yeah.
I haven't picked up from him. I'm just more hysterical.
Keep it bottled up and pushed down there.
Bottled
so
up and pushed down there. Yeah.
Out it
yeah.
comes.
But
At
so
Christmas usually.
yeah, no, it was so in like an insidious. You're gonna get something. I was always waiting for a fist to come and whack me over the back of the head.
Right, okay. What about threatening you musically with the albums that were, confiscated? Or
Look, I wish I could continue on this track, but they had really good music taste.
really?
So yeah,
Siri, can you give me an example there?
well, I'm a bit. No, I'm not a closet fan. The Eagles were the perennial in the
Yep.
house, and there were some good Eagles records. Desperado's not too bad. Rare Earth.
But see, this
sort
is
of
actual
Creedence.
music. See, at our house, nothing. There was nothing in the stereo cabinet until it had been redone by James Last. It was just the James Last collection.
He's a great interpreter of them.
Well, I think it
I
was.
prefer James Last to James Blunt.
But then I think there was one proper music album, which was Hot August Night,
Mm-hmm.
and then my stepdad had two copies. There was the one for playing, and there was the one for storing,
Ooh, one for looking at.
just for looking at.
With your Virgo?
Don't know. We
We-
weren't with him long enough to discover that.
We just picked up a copy of the Roussos Phenomenon, the Dennis Roussos collection.
Right.
It's an amazing record. I mean, it's always a Greek restaurant in your house when that bad boy's playing.
Anytime I try and act cool or I've got some kind of musical knowledge and holier than thou, switching around, remind yourself that and me that the first record I bought was the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang soundtrack.
Oh, was it really?
And my first book that I bought with my own money was Pam Ayres' collection of
Poetry.
Some of me poems. I think that was possibly one of them. Tim Rogers is sitting in. He has a fine new album called The Luxury of Hysteria out. Just tell us quickly, what was the thinking behind this one, Tim?
This'n.
What were you up to here? Because you've gone quite ambitious. There's a lot of instrumentation.
Yeah, I want to continue trying to actually be better than I was last year, and not only sort of look better as I'm physically declining in other respects. I actually want to challenge myself and make something that I can just go, gosh, I'm great. I'm getting better.
Well, it's
That was the
beauty.
thinking behind it. I didn't want one cliched lyric. I didn't want one cliched chord change. I wanted it all to be wonderful.
So none of your songs start with throw your hands in the MFing air and wave them like you just don't care?
Well, you see, that's next year.
Okay, getting into that.
Look, if I did, I mean, I think we've talked once about the songwriting advice I've got over the years
Yes,
from the
yes.
10 labels I've been dropped from.
10!
Yeah. Well, I think it's up around there, and because as we were talking about before, I'm actually going to drop myself after the initial rush of the releases come through, and when I get the first bad review, I'll just drop myself. But yeah, tips that you get from folks about songwriting, predominantly people in record companies.
Please,
so-
we need, because Ed's going to write a song for this show,
Oh,
a
yeah,
power
we have
ballad.
to, yeah.
So we need songwriting advice. We'll write these down. What kind of
Okay.
stuff have they come up with?
My favourite bit of advice was, Tim,
Mhm.
maybe a good idea would be to take every second word out.
Okay, yep. No, I got
So
that.
too wordy.
That's
It's
the
too
old
word.
too many notes, Mr. Mozart theory.
Yeah, got
absolutely.
that.
Look, that's my favourite.
Okay, yeah, no, that's done.
And
Yeah.
anything involving a whoa or
Is-
hey,
Is good or bad?
Oh, well, that's good. Obviously,
Oh,
there's
some
been some
whoa.
classic examples this
All right,
year
some-
of whoa-ohs and doo-doos.
A bit of call and response.
call and response.
Okay,
CNR.
CNR. What about some? I mean, obviously our look. It's going to be all fringes and sort of emo.
Well, someone forgot to tell me that waistcoats were in last year, and I found myself incredibly in company with a bunch of guys with skinny jeans and waistcoats.
They're
on.
stealing your look.
You've been
Well-
pushing that waistcoat look for years.
I know. Yeah,
Okay.
So fringes,
Okay. Yep. We're going fringes, wahos. Every second word's gone.
bit of hair colour.
Hair colour.
And
That's what we'll
and of
do.
course, most importantly, some high quality tail in the video clip,
Absolutely
because
right.
there's that song Umbrella Ella Ella
Mm.
business, the worst song I've ever heard. And then you watch the video and you go, it's not actually that bad. That song.
I've got Foxtel and I'm really into it now, Tone. I've really gotten into it.
Here's what happened when I asked the music department, could we play a track off the new Tim Rogers album? I got this email back. We'd rather not play a full song. How about playing a 10 to 15 second hook off one or two of his songs across the hour?
I think there's three glaring problems here. One, I don't have hooks in songs. I've never written one in my life. Ask anyone who's financed the record I'll put in the future.
Well, I would dispute that, but okay.
10 to 15 seconds, well, subscribing to the theory that I put too many words in songs, then you've probably got a short mini novel in that time anyway.
Great, but that's just the names of the songs. A most ordinary set of events. This gets me in. I want to hear what the most ordinary set of events is. It's not Umbrella Ella Ella.
Well, it was originally called A Most Extraordinary Set of Events, but now so I was sitting in the
You succumb to record company pressure.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, nothing extraordinary. Let's just keep it ordinary, all right?
But anyway, I guess you can imagine what this fine album sounds like. Look, doesn't that sound good?
There's a bit of sizzle.
That's dangling carrots. That's what that is. Tim, what we're learning today is I wasn't aware you were across your comedy. You really seem to know a fair bit. You've mentioned Mr. Show. You're telling me you've seen a bit of Flight of the Conchords from New Zealand.
Spend a lot of time on the road there, boy.
Is comedy the answer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. We tried tragedy, but on the last tour of the States that you and I did a couple of weeks ago, we had pneumonia, laryngitis. Andy was in a car that got run over by a truck.
Really?
And Davey had his guitar stolen and returned in the same night.
Returned, but somebody felt guilty about that?
Well, the guitarist of the opening band, this band called The Hugs from Portland, they're fantastic, great little kids, but we hated the guitarist and we're just flipping him off during the whole show. And then after Dave was very upset, had two guitars stolen, and we said, let's get a couple of beers and watch the security tapes. Did, and guess who stole them? It was the guitarist.
No way.
So the other three kids in the band, who were all underage, went round to his house, beat the crap out of him, and got the guitars and with little tears in their eyes brought it to this party we were at afterwards. So
That's the Hugs.
The Hugs from Portland, keep right, they're really good. Apart from that, guitarist.
Yeah.
And so you're on tour in a bus. What do you and I tour in?
No, it's a very small kind of van.
All right. So
it's
is
pretty
there
cramped.
room for a video
Yeah,
record? So
yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
What do you put on in the bus?
Well, this tour it was Mr. Show. And
Mr. Show. It's a great show.
We attempt to put on movies, but I'm kind of a bit of a John Hughes kind of romantic comedy guy.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah, like Breakfast Club will get a airing, and Rusty, for example, will throw himself out of the van. He'll do anything to avoid seeing that kind of.
Really? He doesn't even want to join in for the Judd Nelson freeze frame at the end? Nothing? You can't even...
I think that I live that life, Smoke 'em up, Johnny. So, what else would we watch?
Stingers is out on DVD.
Stingers. Which one was Stingers?
Oh,
With Peter Phelps.
Yeah, Peter Phelps.
Yeah.
Or if that's not your cup of tea, Blue Healers. All 7 series have just been released.
See, this is just what amazes us. That, I mean, how many... Are there enough blank discs to get all of Stingers, Water Rats and Blue Healers preserved for the ages?
These and many more questions will be answered. I keep expecting you, I'm sorry, Tone, to do a Gallagher impression, a Liam or a Noel.
I've forgotten how to do them. Because I didn't know the voices, so I just made one up, and then it turned out to be accidentally sort of like
Scarily
how
accurate.
but I can't remember how it goes now.
What did you have them doing, Tony?
It was
It's 10 years ago. I can't remember.
Something to do with fruit salad.
That's right.
He was dancing on the wing of a plane. I think at some point. But it's because all English accents, Sean McAuliffe is someone who you can just point to a part of England and he'll do the accent. Whereas I don't know where the accents are from. I just have all these voices stuck in the Adelaide. Like, where's that one from? I don't know.
That's Liverpool, isn't it?
I think, is that the Beatles? Now, Mr. Marsland is perfecting all 4 Beatles for us.
Listen to this, Tim. Rich will do
amazing.
them, and then you tell us which Beatle it is.
Okay,
It's uncanny.
Beatle 1.
I heard that you Paul McCartney song on the iTunes on the weekend.
Well, see, it's not
Scratch
Paul
your
McCartney.
nose.
Yeah.
That's
What do you
Paul
think?
McCartney. I
That's
love
Paul
it.
McCartney.
Oh, that was Paul McCartney.
And he was saying, I've heard that new Paul
yeah,
McCartney
saying
song.
himself in the third person.
Unusual thing.
George?
Give us some George.
Well, George is a little bit more teethy. What do you think?
Yep, gotcha.
Great, thanks, Tim.
We usually go to ones where...
And John Lennon is a bit more
More like that, right down the back of your throat like that. That's it.
That's right.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I've got.
Paul McCartney's up here.
No Paul McCartney.
John Lennon's back there.
But where is George Harrison? Where does he sit? We've not worked it out. I think one of us would get a tape or something. It's this kind of show, isn't it?
Your homework this evening. Although you could do your George Martin, which is, of course, a lot of people say that Paul was the music man and John was a wordsman, but John wrote some very fine music and Paul wrote some very fine words,
Yeah, I see.
It's Get This with George Martin. Shane Warne.
Oh, well, that's over, isn't it?
Any developments? I mean, we still don't know who he was, making the backdoor offer to at this point, do we?
No.
I tuned in the news to see if there was any answers there.
Spin King Shane Warne is heading home tomorrow to a new text scandal denying his wife's cheating claim. He says,
I would recommend it to anybody that's going a little bit bald and thinking of it. Get in there and have it done. It's pretty easy.
while she claims
Don't go near him. He's not worth it. He is a dirty man whore. Stay away from him.
There you go.
Why does he play slap bass whenever he does a press conference?
How much more music in the news these days?
Certainly is. Any big stories over there, sports-wise, Mr. Marsden? What are you sitting on?
Fishing, sports fishing.
Oh, yeah.
People love fishing. An Irish trawler has scooped up an unusual catch of cannabis
Right.
worth up to $2.3 million in the Atlantic.
Okay.
This is amazing. 8 bales made up of 200 kilograms of drugs, about 80 kilometres west of the Irish coast. This is the second time, as a matter of fact, the 8 bales of cannabis has been caught. Matthew McConaughey caught it a few months ago, threw it back because it was too small. That's what I heard.
What have you got there?
Well, science. Look at this. Hobbit wasn't a modern human.
Oh, yeah.
Rich. They found a supposed Hobbit fossil in Indonesia in 2003. Lots of wrangling over whether it was just a modern day human or in fact an ancient being. And look at this. They said the wrist bones of the 3-foot tall creature are basically indistinguishable from an African ape.
Oh.
But they're not seen in modern humans.
Oh, okay.
This seals the deal. It says it is definitely not a modern human with a physical disorder.
Okay.
Scientists say that the modern ancestors of the 3-foot creature are probably leading very normal lives in our community, hosting Dancing with the Stars.
Okay. Another round of booze already.
Jeez, Rich.
I love how scientists are determined to prove that everything in Lord of the Rings really happened. That's something they're pouring a lot of money into. They're right into it.
Are they what?
Hey, we have to have some serious news to balance things out here. The government, they're onto the internet, aren't they?
The YouTube election.
That's what they're
they're
calling
Is it?
it. Blogging.
That fat kid that gets catapulted into a fence?
Is running.
He's got my vote.
It certainly
He's got the
has.
policies that I can hang my hat on.
The cat with the watermelon helmet. That's-
Nice cat.
that would be my vote if it was in there. Rad, Howard, or cat with watermelon helmet. Sign me up for the cat.
I think that Statler and Waldorf, dubbed over by Cook and Moore, have a really good chance this year as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got
Anyone for some obscure references?
2 for the price of 1. Thank you, Mr. Marsden. No, listen to this. Blogging is now being embraced by the Australian government as a way of seeking the views of the public. They're setting up a citizens blog. You know who's setting this up? Special Minister of State, Gary. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yep.
Gary Neal. Gary Neal. Sorry, just can't. I'll be doing that all day.
As opposed to the Jetsons.
Sorry, can't stop doing that. So, okay, what is the Howard government's citizens blog like? What kind of views is it attracting? Look at this. Here's their blog for climate change. Some of the views they've got up there. I think Australia should stick to the Kyoto Accord. Very good. Peter Garrett has abandoned his principles, says somebody.
I've heard that.
Right. Did you guys see the chick from The Nanny norgs out on Californication? Someone's added. Oh, okay.
It's gone off the rails.
I reckon Hamish is hot.
Oh, here we go. That's
Yep.
a common one.
There you
25 exclamation marks. I
Yeah.
guess that's about warming
Probably,
of
yeah.
a sort. And
He
then
does have a heavy carbon footprint.
erectile problems, click here. I don't know.
iTurpy.
All blogs seem to lead to that. Yes, get this. Of course it is. In the new time slot, in case you weren't aware, lots of things we do on this show that possibly require explaining to the virgin listener. We are obsessed with the soap operas.
Well, are we what?
My wife insists that I tape EastEnders every night on UK TV on Foxtel. And it's great for learning new terms of Cockney abuse. And they start them early on EastEnders.
Yep.
Even the youngsters are talking like Michael Caine.
Well, we know Greg Fleet's favourite.
What's that one?
Shut it, you toilet.
Shut you toilet. You great dozy plum.
Well, that's quite tame.
You barmy old horse.
Well, now you're just getting personal.
Listen to what the kiddies had to say last night.
Well, Dino's a plonker then. I mean, he is a plonker.
You gonna miss your brother when you're moving with me?
What, miss him and Lee sucking each other's faces off during Top Gear? You gotta be joking. You're just a muppet who's got a part with him now.
Okay, I have no idea what that was.
You're a muppet, you're a plonker.
Sucking each other's face off during Top Gear.
Subtitles. I need a
That's
director's commentary for every...
fantastic.
Sounded kind of blue till you actually deciphered it, and it wasn't. We're going to need that quote. That's handy for everybody. The Prime Minister.
He is a plonker.
Okay. Remember the other day you were floating on Talkback Mountain. How does Richard Marsland live his life?
Yeah, now no one. This is the one I desperately wanted to do. No one called in.
Yeah.
But the listeners have got on board,
There's a
Tone.
couple of calls. Somebody suggested it was a bit Buffalo Bill.
No, that was mine. Someone said it was a bit Red Dragon.
Of course. Well, Gav Man has emailed in. Pardon me, Gav. He says, can't get to a phone right now, but I imagine Rich's one-bedroom flat would be tastefully decorated in the style of the bar from the start of A Clockwork Orange. Lots of furniture made of naked ladies.
Yeah, great.
That's getting close.
That's not what I saw with my own two eyes.
Here's one from Glenn Mills, who says that I think Marsland's place is like the creepy kid's bedroom in American Beauty, and everything being very clean. Oh, and there's rows and rows upon rows of tapes of him upskirting people. That sounds absolutely right.
I do put my urine in a little bar fridge for my father to collect later on.
Absolutely
like
right.
that, kid. Is that okay?
No,
that's close
fair
enough.
Really?
Here's another one that says that apparently you live in stately Wayne Manor, complete with a bat cave. Cool.
Oh, stately Wayne Manor. That's something people have been emailing in about. Massive disappointment that Adam West isn't going to be here.
I know.
Somebody suggested we should get this person.
The men of them run from the house and out onto the street. We've attended a short time later and we've conducted a thorough search of the surrounding area, and we're still looking for all 3 people involved in the incident.
Senior Constable Adam West there.
Senior Constable Adam West. Does he have that music every time he has to go somewhere?
Was he crossing live from a conveyor belt somewhere? Now, one more email here. Here's one from Hootie McBoob, who says that if you want to see a picture of Richard Marsland, type man-child into Wikipedia.
Really?
There he is. There is his little face from
okay.
man-child. It looks great. Hootie McBoob also adds, you guys play a lot of songs. Does Richard Marsland's version of the Venga Bus count as a song? I don't know, Hootie. Let's find out.
The Venga bus is coming and everybody's running from north to Ibiza in the Mediterranean sun. I think it does, clearly. So much talent.
Music
dripping.
department
10
says
seconds.
No, they're shaking their head. They're saying if he could mention Bryan Adams' first real six string a few more times, then maybe we could count that as a song. I don't want to think, that all of the, abusive emails are concerning Richard Marsland. Many of them concern Ed Cavalier and his film Meat Pie.
Oh, good to hear.
Hours and hours it would take me to read them all out, but here's a simple,
Let's not read any.
A beautiful, simple, straightforward one from John Palazzi. Of course, Meat Pie is the film which commences with Ed making love to a meat mincing machine. Says John, is Ed the monkey or the organ grinder? There you go.
He is a plonker.
Hey, enough of that.
Get out of here, chavs.
Here's a story from New Zealand. This bloke here, Dave Mullins from Wellington, has claimed a world record after swimming 244 metres underwater on one breath.
It's pretty good.
In a suburban Wellington pill. He broke the record that he'd set himself just recently. Can you do that? He was underwater, one breath for 4 minutes and 2 seconds. Is that possible?
No, he's
cheating, surely.
He's lying.
He's cheating because I once made it from the airport to the city on one breath. It's just in a cab. It left me no option, this particular cab. I love it when the cabbie has one of those little Christmas trees hanging there, but clearly no deodorant. That's good, isn't it? Maybe just want one of those under each arm. Squire. We love it when this bloke joins us, and it's a good day to be here, sir, because we are on Broadway. Yes, in you come, Glenn Roberts.
One singular sensation. Every little
Turn.
she takes.
I have to say, Glenn, I don't think you've danced yet on the new series of Kath and Kim. It was a very spirited walk down the street the other night. I always appreciate a bit of that. But when is the dancing coming out?
Well, all I'll say is you will see us dance.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
Okay, great. There we go.
Saw some of Kath's Aboriginal stylings on the weekend. I think they could have gone a lot further with that. I think there was a few more minutes of that footage to be enjoyed.
What happens is when I'm dancing with Jane is that she dances up in front of me and I just start laughing. I piss myself. So I have to pretend to do a turn so I can look the other way, have a good laugh, and then continue dancing.
But you're on the 7 Network now, the home of dancing. Surely that...
They must have asked
sorry,
you
am I...
100 times.
I'm getting the feeling that I shouldn't have said that. You're going to be coming up on Dancing with the Stars. Or maybe you're going to be on what was that thing last week? Dancing with the Deals.
That's it.
What's
it.
that?
That's not right. It's not. It should have been Dealing with the Stars, shouldn't it?
Oh, that's nice.
Like Dancing with the Deals would suggest people with suitcases dancing about, choreographed kick lines,
Yeah,
Busby
absolutely.
Berkeley style.
Yeah, but dealing with the stars doesn't imply anything, which is nice.
It's just Loki's night.
My favourite.
Loki's night in the toilets. Fair enough.
This is taking you back. My favourite one of those of what you've just done was when you went to racks of slacks.
Oh, stacks of slacks.
Stacks of slacks.
In
and
Oakley.
you pulled them up and said it's not.
I can't.
No, because they're in piles. And
Oh,
you said,
they were on racks.
they're on racks. But, hang on.
Okay, racks of.
No, they weren't stacks of.
I got into an argument with the manager of Stacks of Slacks on the Late Show 15 years ago, and it was only last year that shop closed down.
It did.
Yeah. You'd think there would sort of be, what's that thing where they put it on the heritage listing? You'd think that might have happened.
It's now, Nikki's just handed me an urgent memo that says it's now an accountancy firm called Stacks of Tax.
Is that true?
Really?
Well done. Well done. It
Well
is
done,
just,
them.
when we filmed that segment, I did note that it was only a few doors up from the Steak Bank, which was a steak restaurant that had opened inside a bank. Next waiter, please.
There is a good day out.
Oh, that is great.
You're just running around to business. And that clip that you've just mentioned, that if you don't want to fork up the cash for the Late Show Champagne edition, you can watch it for free on YouTube. Almost everything that I've ever been involved in. Me dancing in a pirate costume at the Edinburgh Festival, interfering with the production of Sweeney Todd. That footage has somehow made its way onto YouTube. Glenn, are you finding stuff that you'd forgotten about is coming back on the internet, or you just haven't checked, have you?
Sadly, no. People don't want to put me up there.
Oh, come on.
No, seriously, there isn't that much. Not that I sit there and Google my name.
Come on.
That much. No, there isn't. Seriously.
Oh, there must be some stuff. I tell you, a great sketch that you were involved in years ago that I would love to see on the YouTube was from a show called Something Stupid, where you were the fitness instructor for Mark Downey, giving her increasingly erotic yoga moves to try out.
And her boyfriend wasn't happy because I had to do some stuff where I had to pull her face towards my groin.
Ooh. Not in the script.
Yeah, he didn't like that.
Not in the
mate.
script.
Not that funny, mate. Not that funny.
Glenn just went with it. He just felt it and he just did it. Not in the script at all.
Mark
Cameron wasn't
Downey,
even on.
no one's sweeter than Mark Downey. I can
That's
tell
true.
you.
Okay.
But what about you, Mr. Marsden? YouTube, have you been stung yet? What's up there?
No, there's absolutely nothing. There's a singer-songwriter in the United States called Adam Marsland who's all over it.
Is he?
But nothing. Or maybe, no, I think I am actually listed alongside the performance of Tony's sister in Godiva. So if you type in my name, it goes
What
to
were
Godiva.
you doing there?
Well, I don't know. I think it's just like a keyword sort of thing.
That
So
was
if you-
my sister, who is in a string quartet.
A sexy string quartet.
that made it onto Australia's Got Talent and then had their ass kicked by the bloke playing the gum leaf. Although, as I say every time, he couldn't do the final countdown.
That's true.
Try as he might. What were you doing?
No, I had nothing to do with it, but I guess
Stalking
maybe...
my sister again?
Well, who knows? Possibly, maybe some live action. Because I know she has
What?
performed before at some crazy key parties. and
She
stuff.
did once play in a string quartet at an orgy, which I was supposed to never, ever mention again
Oh, okay.
on the radio.
Really?
Yeah.
It just classes up an orgy, Glenn. You know what I mean? Playing Right Said Fred and all that stuff in the background. It's not as classy as a string quartet.
I do the Benny Hill music while someone was getting it on.
I was just doing the Eyes Wide Shut soundtrack, which is just the same note over and over again.
I can play the piano. Dun, dun.
Glenn, we've been doing this thing on the show. We've been asking the listeners to guess, make an educated guess based on what they've heard on this show as to how Richard Marsland lives his life. You know, what his house is like.
Can I ask a question before we go there?
Yeah.
Is it Marsland? Marsland.
Well, my parents say Marsland, but when you pronounce it, it's easier to say Marsland because a lot of people think it's Marsden or Marsden, so I always say Marsland.
Maslin Beach.
Maslin's Beach.
Comes
that's
up a
ugly.
lot.
So, which is the
It's
first
almost, it feels like two words.
Yeah.
It feels like you're bigging it up, to be honest.
You're really hitting the land quite hard. Marsland.
Like you're like a landed
See,
gentry.
I'd throw
type,
the land
you know?
away.
Yes.
What about the chard? Should I hit the chard particularly hard?
Yeah, Richard Marsland.
Oh, the chart. Oh, sorry. Right.
He's pimping his own name on air. But okay, that's fine. Let's close the Marsland file. None of us have been to this dude ranch that Ed talks about all the time on air.
Hello, I have.
You've been to Ed's place?
Yep.
Is it as he paints it on the show?
How do you paint it on the show?
Full of stolen furniture?
Well, I painted this heaven, basically. Foxtel in the main living room. Second living room's got a Super Nintendo lounge.
Yes.
We've got milk crate furniture out the back, which we've made out of plywood and borrowed milk crates.
Correct.
The world's smallest kitchen.
Incredibly.
Yeah.
It's like a caravan.
You can't have
It's a caravan kitchen.
You can't have two people in there.
No, seriously.
Under any circumstance.
No, you couldn't shoot a porno movie and have someone leaning over, opening up the oven.
You couldn't.
Whoops, no, hey, there you go.
Bang.
Couldn't do that there.
If the only two people that can get in there at once are those contortionists from Cirque du Soleil, they're the only two people that can both make a cup of tea at the same time.
You know what's really sad about his place? In his bedroom, he doesn't have an electric blanket.
That's true.
What he does is quite sad. He gets one of those little heaters, he pulls it towards the edge of the bed, throws the doona over the heater, and makes like this warmth tent.
Yeah, warmth.
A sort of electronic Dutch oven.
Yeah.
That's what he's created.
He does.
It's my warmth tent.
Yeah.
And
Does that work?
It does work, yeah.
He throws, but it's quite dangerous because you could.
I've only woken up to the smell of smoke once.
Yeah.
And that was not because of
unrelated.
that.
Hello,
Hey,
Steady.
come on. Still got 10
Ladies
minutes.
present. Jokes. We love accidental jokes. You were telling me about free jokes. What do you mean by that?
A joke you get for nothing. Like, for example, my partner Selena's dad, we gave him a camera for his birthday.
Yeah.
And he said, straight back said, does it come with an upskirting function?
Hey.
Bang, there's a free joke. That's for nothing. But what I hate is when you're going, I've gone, that's good.
Yeah.
Where's the upskirting function? Bang. I was on an aeroplane. This is a classic example of when you give a free joke and you get nothing back.
Okay, yes.
On an aeroplane, sitting on the tarmac. I look out the window. There's some birds on the tarmac. I've gone, that's interesting. I didn't realise they had to take off from here as well.
Oh, yeah.
Bang, free joke. There you go, mate. Don't know you. There's a joke. That's yours. Take it. No questions asked. Away you go. Fine. Nothing. I've got nothing. There's a free.
Nothing for that.
Yeah, I mean, $5,000 normally for me to do that.
Maybe he sat next to Russell Gilbert on another flight and got 35 in a row.
Done some of that. Gilbo's been known to grab the mic from the woman doing the safety demonstration.
Right,
and
do
just
a
do
tight five.
Yeah, saying, lady, this is old material. I'll give you some new. And then he has everyone on the economy doing rattle in pots and pans.
I
seen
caught a
that
plane
happen.
with Russell once, and he had a swizzle stick in his drink.
Oh, yeah.
And we called over the hostie and we said, excuse me, but this straw is just not working. And Russell cried for 10 minutes. It was just a free joke.
That's good stuff.
There's a free joke. That's yours. Take it. It's yours.
In the bank.
No
Thanks
questions.
very
Yeah,
much.
money in the bank.
Well,
Free jokes make your day.
we love free jokes. All jokes must go every Friday on this program. But next up, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go out to sea. You love the sea, don't you, Glenn Robbins?
I was in the sea only a few days ago.
And what sort of activities go
Well,
on
there's
out there?
lots of stories. There's the time that I got stung on the penis by a jellyfish. There's the
In a
time
nightclub?
that there was in a nightclub. That was the weird part. You're exactly right. There was a time when I was snorkeling in Tahiti and thinking, oh, lovely fish, and then a woman swam past topless, and I went, stuff Demo. And I was going, that's incredible. And you know, under the water, things like, Then there was the time I was surfing down in Victoria and at the back and about 30 metres away, it sounded like a couple of kids were having a fight.
Yeah.
And I'm going, oh, come on, you guys, stop mucking around in the water. I look around and I see a guy punching the water.
Yeah.
And I think, I wonder what's going on there. Then I hear him yell, shark.
Oh,
I think, God. And no one does anything. No one did anything.
Right.
And I'm thinking, well, I won't do anything. And then I went, what are you doing? Get out of the water. There's a shark. So then I start to paddle, and it's one of those, like those bad dreams where you want to get out, you can't catch the wave. Couldn't catch a wave. Finally get in. Then the guy comes in, and I said to him, did you say shark? And he said, yeah. And I said, sure, it wasn't a dolphin or a seal. I said, no. And then another guy came in who was out there, and he said, no, it's definitely a shark, and it was around about 5 foot long. It had come up, and it had bit onto his leg rope.
Right.
So he'd punched it, and it swam down and came back and tried to bite him again.
Jaws music.
And I lived to tell the tale. And the sad thing about it was, I went and stood on the beach, and there's a few people coming and going. The guy who was nearly attacked just got in his car and went home. I stood on the beach going, yeah, thinking about going for a surf? Yeah, well, think again, my friend. The water is angry today. There are sharks out there. Tell us a story. I must have told the story 8 times, dined out on it for years. I was in no way under threat. Now I'm telling it on national radio.
Yeah, there you go.
If that guy who's out there who nearly got attacked, if you're still around,
Bad luck.
Bad luck. I'm dining out on this baby.
But it's true what you say, though, punching the water, because we were taught that in New Zealand, you've got to punch the shark on the nose. Now, how you can, land a punch underwater. I mean, give it a crack next time you're underwater.
That's true. I was doing a thing for the panel where I had to go. Nikki, did you do this? Yeah, and I had to go in one of these
on the cage.
Oh, right.
What was it called? The thing I was on
At the aquarium, was it a
like an aquapod or something, where I went into the water. Anyway, I'm getting quite cocky because I'm in this thing, but in actual fact, my legs are all exposed and my arms are exposed, just my head. So anyway, I don't know whether you know, but often a shark will yawn. But when it yawns, it actually looks like it's about to attack you. So I'm going past the viewing area, and I'm going, la, 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 tap on the shark, la, 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 and the shark yawns, and everyone goes, oh, my God, Glenn Robinson's about to be eaten.
Good telly.
Yeah, and I just kept on going on my way. But in fact, so if a shark comes at you with his mouth open, it's probably just yawning.
Just give it a Horlicks and away you go.
It's just bored.
It's just bored.
Bored with the bottom of the seat. Okay, I think it's time to get the listeners on board.
G'day, Peter.
Me and my mate were surf fishing, and he waded into the water to get the fish he caught and got bitten on the manhood by a crab.
Oh, manhood. That's an Ormy Plum scenario right there.
And was it? Did it sort of hang on to him, Peter? Was it sort of dangling off his manhood for a while?
He actually didn't realise till he got out of the water.
Yeah, you often don't. I've found that. You often don't realise.
I'm wearing one today.
I can tell. It's lovely. Yeah. Spring Carnival's coming. I think everyone will be doing it. Thank you, Peter. Lovely talking to you.
Did you like the way he just changed it to manhood because he realised the kids were out of school?
And he was 16 himself, so he was very good self-editor. G'day, Greg. How are you?
Oh, well, I was in the inlet at Malakuta when I was about 23. It's quite a few years back. And I was in a canoe, and the whole canoe and I got lifted out of the water about a foot.
Wow.
Down again. And I sort of got my paddle and fell around, couldn't see anything. And I realised there must have been a big shark, but I reckon I nearly put the damn canoe under my arm and ran across the water to the shore, I can tell you.
Is that right?
That's the worst. So it's had a bit of a look and gone, yeah, nothing much here, it's just Greg. I think I can do better than this.
You mustn't be very...
Mate, I reckon I got to the other side. I reckon I did the brown shark, I can tell you, on the shore.
Well, there's a bonus. And Greg, what do you feel about the idea that we should be punching the sharks on the nose? How hard would it be to do that, do you reckon?
Extremely hard, mate. It doesn't work.
Because they won't sit still as well. That's the other thing, Greg, I find.
They're very uncooperative.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, I don't think they'd wait for you. I think something that travels at quite a fast speed out the end of a rifle is the only way to deal with them.
Absolutely.
You're not going to be able to wind up a Bud Spencer.
Yeah.
Underwater.
I feel like the top secret underwater bar fight.
Very
is that what it's turning into?
You could do with Three Stooges, though, if it was the right sort of shark.
That's true.
Yeah.
And if they do that with their flipper.
As they want to do.
As they do that. Everyone get that at home? Everyone get the picture when Richard said that?
Glenn Robbins is with us. We just had quite an alarming story about a man who stood on a stingray and copped it.
And he got a round of applause.
He did.
Richard, which I thought was great.
Injury of the day. But what do these sort of injuries sound like? What does it sound like to be hit with some capsicum spray?
I give up. I can see it. I can get your feet in the car.
There you go.
That gets a round of applause.
That's what it sounds like. What does it sound like to be tasered by someone?
I didn't do anything! And don't tase me, bro! Don't tase me! I didn't do anything! Ow! Ow!
That's the clip that's very popular on YouTube at the moment. But what does it sound like, Glenn, to be electrocuted on live radio?
Step 4, leave the controller to the chopper at least 5 metres far away.
Now the antenna is currently touching.
It's electrocuted.
What happened there?
That was our own Ed Cavalier flying a helicopter indoors in breach of the instruction book.
Yeah, I wish I got tased, bro.
Yeah.
Less painful.
And just for political balance, let's taser Mr. Kevin Rudd.
He likes it, though. He likes it.
He likes a bit.
He wants more of that.
This is like a fun palace. It's like I go around, I push that button there, and that makes that noise, and oh, look at that.
Tell you what, let Glenn have some fun. Let Glenn just push any button at random. What have you got, Mr. Marsden? Just reach over and hit any button you want, Glenn. See what happens.
Oh, Glenn!
Booing! Hang on, he set off the haunted studio.
Don't press that one.
He's fired off Toto.
Sorry.
Hang on.
Sorry.
Oh, he's exposed his breasts to a horse. And now he's
changed for it. And the horse has paid him for it.
Have you got a button that fires off some Pat Benatar? Have you?
How's that?
I was actually joking.
Get this at the new time of 2 o'clock.
Or in Adelaide, 3 o'clock.
On the Triple M Network.